Well, that's so funny you say that, Jenna, because the way you felt listening to Mahomes is the way I felt, and America felt, I'm sure, listening to your introduction. All these terrible things the Chiefs did, all the terrible play, the terrible numbers, yet you wake up this morning after a late Monday Night Football game, and you're like, oh, they won. So it's a little maybe misleading for folks that are just waking up to us. But yes, the Chiefs did win a professional football game. And listen, the other guys get paid too, America. And that New York Giants team's a little better than the record suggests. I've said this all along. Joe Judge, it's a tough coach, kind of going in the right direction. And I'm just telling you, it's a good defense. It's a good defense. Oh, I don't know. Look at the Giants. All they did is beat Broussard's beloved New Orleans Saints. So was I impressed with the Chiefs yesterday? No, I was not impressed. Was that game closer than it should have been? Of course, it was closer than it should have been because the Chiefs are far better than they've shown over these first 2 months. But now we are at a very nice point in the season where we no longer have an exact midway point because of the 17 games, but 8 games still feels like it. So there's a team in the NFL, and I'll tell you, the team's the Chiefs. They, through the first half of the year, for part of it, had a historically bad defense. Same team is on a historically high turnover rate throughout the season. As Jenna mentioned, multiple turnovers seemingly every week. Their quarterback, who going into the year was the unanimously considered best player in football, #1 ranking on the NFL 100 list, after in his first 3 years of football was held under 21 3 times in 3 years, has been held under 21 3 times in the last 4 games. And, oh yeah, by the way, they played a brutal schedule. The Chargers, the Titans, the Ravens, the Browns, the Bills. Basically every good team in the AFC aside from the Raiders and Bengals, who are coming up later. And despite all of that, Broussard, they sit there at 4-4. A game out of first place in the division. The same number of wins as the Chargers. Same number of wins as the Browns, as the Patriots, who Wilds is so excited about, who you guys explained to me yesterday about how the Patriots are dangerous. The 4-win Patriots are dangerous. And so while, Broussard, I was not impressed with the Chiefs yesterday, here's what I do know. They play the Green Bay Packers on Sunday. They are favorites in that game. Slim favorites, but favorites nonetheless. And if they win that game, then all of a sudden they're playing the Raiders for first place in the division, and all is forgotten. They somehow survived what was the worst month of defense of the Mahomes era, which was followed immediately by the worst month of offense of the Mahomes era. Despite all of that, they're 4-4. Fresh start, game out of first place. So no, I wasn't impressed last night, but I am hopeful and optimistic about the rest of the year, my friend.
That was impressive, Nick. I mean, the mental gymnastics, the verbal gymnastics you just put us through. I feel like I was following you on a maze, man. That was impressive. And look, I like to make fun of Nick and his Chiefs. But Nick will remind you, and I'm going to go ahead and remind you before he does, I also picked the Chiefs to reach the Super Bowl. So I've got skin in this game as well. All right, so I'm hoping for a turnaround myself. But like Nick, no, you couldn't be impressed with this. All right, not in the least bit impressed. All right, it looked last night like 2 bad football teams playing. That's really what it looked like.
Correct.
It was a dull game. It looked like 2 bad teams. And Nick, you mentioned the Packers. If the Chiefs play this way against Green Bay, Las Vegas, and Dallas, their next 3 games, they'll lose all 3, and their season may be over. All right, they had 12 penalties, 2 bad turnovers, 4 times they punted against a bottom 10 defense in the NFL. They scored 6 second-half points. This was bad. And if it wasn't for an O'Shane Zimenez offsides, then that last drive in which they kicked the game-winning field goal may end in another interception, and they lose the game.
I have to jump in. Hold on, because this is the same thing the broadcast was doing. If the Manning cast got it right, the main broadcast didn't. We all have to acknowledge Mahomes, you can see it. He sees the guy jumps. He's looking at the ref to see that he throws the flag and knows he has a free play. The broadcast was trying to act as if that pick would have been thrown no matter what. Hold on. Broussard, Wildes is being condescending. That's fine. I get it. I understand it. We all know Broussard. Do you agree with me that Mahomes did that knowing that the flag had been thrown? Tell me. I thought it was obvious. Peyton thought it was obvious.
Okay. Maybe. All right, but obviously he's made some bad decisions. That would have just been yet another one. So
sure.
Then there's the taunting call. There's a taunting call on the Giants player as well that helped out the Chiefs. So the bottom line is they didn't play well. Now, Nick, I'm going to end on a high note. All right, and I'll toss it to you next, Wildes. There were some positives. Patrick Mahomes did take the checkdowns, right? He completed 15 passes behind the line of scrimmage. That's the most since 2016. People may mock that, but the fact is, it was showing growth in him. I mean, he didn't force the long ball because the defense wasn't giving him. For the first time this year, he kind of took what the defense gave him. He took the check down. It didn't look great. It didn't look Mahomes-esque. But it was ultimately effective. And then, Wildes, it took them 59 minutes. But finally, Frank Clark and Chris Jones responded to the Bud list. And they got those sacks at the end of the game in the Giants' last possession. They thwarted what would have been maybe a game-winning possession or game-time possession. Or Frank Clark's first sack. So those are the positives, Wildes. I want to end on a good note.
I know. Andy Reid at halftime went in and showed the clip of the Bud list, and Frank Clark's like, ooh, we got to get to Daniel Jones. And just real quick, Nick, I wasn't trying to be sarcastic at all. I think that it was a free play for Mahomes. He obviously saw the flag, and he hadn't thrown an interception in about 90 minutes. So he's like, oh, free play. Let me get some interception practice. And he gave one to the Giants rather than look for Tyreek Hill down the field. You got to keep the interception arm hot. So here's the thing. You said something very interesting. You said that the Chiefs survived the game, and I think that is spot on. There's a difference between winning and surviving. That if you survive, if you're like swimming in the Atlantic Ocean, you didn't win the Titanic. You survived the Titanic. And Jenna, the iceberg continues to be the turnovers. If we can show our wonderful turnover graphic, the Chiefs are turning the ball over basically one out of every 4 drives they're on. Much more than the woeful Jets and Trevor Lawrence, who is out here treating the regular season like a Clemson practice, and our guy to another dreadful team. So look, as long as you guys keep turning the ball over, I think you'll always be in trouble. Maybe it'll regress back, because I actually do want you guys to be good, but this is a major issue, and every week you're like, we'll get better, we'll get better, we'll get better. It's been 8 weeks of this, so I'm not sure it's going to get better.
Of course it's a major issue. Of course it's a major issue, but that graphic makes me feel good because you're right about one thing. It's the Chiefs and 3 of the 4 worst teams in football. The Texans, 3 of the 5. The Texans and Lions should be, are the other 2 awful teams. But the Jets, the Jags, and the Dolphins are terrible. And no, I don't think the Chiefs are going to continue on that. But I want to say one last thing here. Because Wildes and I argue about a few things sports-wise. One of them is he is just a diehard quarterback wins guy. And I say that's not a stat.
True.
Wildes, quarterback wins. But I am a team wins guy because it's actually all that matters. And the woeful Chiefs with their woeful defense and the woeful turnovers and Mahomes getting confused, team wins. They have 1 fewer than the great Buffalo Bills. They have 1 fewer than the great Cincinnati Bengals, who were the hottest team, and the great Baltimore Ravens. In the whole AFC, there's 1 team with more than 1 win more than the Chiefs. It's the Titans, who, by the way, just lost their best player potentially for the season. So all the sky is falling, Pollyanna, oh my God. A game back, America, with Aaron Rodgers coming to Arrowhead as an underdog. To quote
Aaron Rodgers.
Can't wait!
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.